that recently did a venture round where they raised a fair amount of money at a nascent stage in their development from a venture capitalist.
I'm sorry, my question was more about that institutionally, we're not investing in seed and angel, and venture is requiring deal flow that comes from seed and angel, and there's virtually no money, no institutional money around that is able to look at a volume of projects, whether it's clean tech or new media or whatever. So essentially, institutional investors are passing off onto individuals to do their due diligence for them, and it's just not providing enough early-stage fundable projects that the venture unit, business can...
Let's ask our man from the venture industry.
So it's, if I understand the question correctly, I think the venture model isn't broken. I think that we like investing in companies run by people that we know. That kind of makes it less risky for us, and all things being equal, that makes it better. But that probably happens in, I haven't done the stats, but tough, maybe half the investments we make, we've known the people for a long time. The other half, we've known them for 3-6 months whilst we get together to do the deal. We also do work very hard, actually, to look for deals which haven't been funded by the prominent angels around the place. These are what we call proprietary deals, and that's often the place we can find the most interesting companies.
Okay, next question. We've got one over here. This person here. Oh.
So we've talked a lot about...
Now, who are you?
Me, I'm Judith.
It's Judith from Glasshouse. This is an in-house question.
So I guess we've talked a lot about money today and how to get it and all of that stuff, but it seems to me the excitement about being an entrepreneur is actually about the passion and the creativity of creating a business. And we've talked a lot about, I think over the last year, the difficult economic times, and it's been worse than ever. And actually, it seems to me sitting in this room are some of the people that are going to start to lead innovation and make it happen again. So you've all seen some of the best businesses in the world be created. What would your rallying call be to the people in this room to encourage them to go out and innovate and make their businesses happen, whether the market is difficult or not?
We want a rallying call. Okay. Q, rallying call.
My rallying call is, is figure out a way to explain how you're going to monetize your business. Obviously, the enthusiasm and drive of an entrepreneur and belief in your business idea is critical. I mean, that's what makes an entrepreneur. So my point of view is again, have a business model that you can explain the commercialization and monetization, and you'll be able to raise money.
I'm going to have only one more rallying call because, Michael, you should be in a better position to make a rallying call than anybody. So what do you say to these hopeful young entrepreneurs here?
I sort of touched on it earlier, is that you don't necessarily have to raise money. Certainly, as your environment changes, you should adapt to the environment. So there's the infamous PowerPoint by Sequoia when it was very evident that there was a major economic downturn, and it was a presentation to their portfolio companies, encouraging them to significantly change what they were doing, focus on profit, focus on surviving, because they probably weren't going to raise any more money. So I think you have to adapt to the environment. Don't hire a crazy number of people if you can't afford them. If you've only got so much money, you've got to work within those constraints and not be dependent. Your survivability should not be dependent on raising money, because that's at these times.
Is this a bad year to raise money? I mean, is it not? Yeah, but no. What I mean is, given valuations, would you be better holding off till next year? That's another question that actually came in from somebody.
Yeah, I mean, I think the valuations. I think VCs take slight advantage of the situation that if people are desperate for money, they can get better valuations.
They don't, do they?
They may do. Obviously, we don't do that. But, I can only speak for myself.
Yeah.
But it could make sense to hold off. But I think you should raise money when it makes sense to do so.
Okay, let's get another question in from over here. Have another go.
Is that it?
That is.
Okay. Just to clarify a quick thing, I'm a little confused because I guess the premise of this is really venture financing in Europe, and yet, and then also the sort of mantra of monetizing and commercializing. And yet, as I understand it, I think a lot of people feel that they still need to go to the States as entrepreneurs, and also that there's still a lot of evidence that if you can avoid venture financing and bootstrapping your company, that you should do so. I think that's on one side, that I think, if you can bootstrap your company and go to the States, that's probably better than staying in Europe and trying to secure venture financing.
So is your question, what is your question?
Well, the question is, I guess to Michael, which one would you really sort of advocate to an entrepreneur? The second is in terms of actually demonstrating the need to, or demonstrating your ability to monetize your business model. Do you think that there are actually other metrics that financiers should be looking at apart from the conventional need to demonstrate monetization or the quickest route to profitability?
Because we were talking earlier, and Michael was saying, I still say to people, you just grow fast, don't worry about the business model at the beginning, just go on a massive land grab. And I said, my God, that sounds like 1999 all over again. So is that still your advice?
Well, you've got to look at the stage of the company.
And should you go to the States is the other end of it.
Yeah, you've got to look at what stage you're at, because if you're embryonic and you have no traffic, then trying to monetize no traffic is almost guaranteed to make you no money. And if you're 10 times bigger, you will make 10 times more money, whatever that amount of money is. So at the very beginning, there's no point putting necessarily ads on your site or trying to do some business development partnership that will make you cash, because you've got to get traction. And you just get distracted if you focus on making money or potentially focusing on raising money. So go for the land grab. But when you get to a certain point, the Sequoia presentation was to companies that had secured VC. They were at a different stage. And then it was about surviving. Now, all of those companies had traction. Otherwise, they'd have probably never raised VC. So they were about survivability and trying to make money. So I think you've got to view the stage of the company that you're at.
Nick, I'm an ambitious young man. I've got a fantastic company that has got a certain stage. Where do I go? Do I suddenly get on a plane and go west?
Said it before, I said it again.
I know this is almost unimaginable. I'm sorry, this is a fantasy situation.
So there's two questions bundled up in this, right? Do
Yeah.
you bootstrap and do you go to Silicon Valley? And they're kind of separate questions. If you can bootstrap a company here, you can bootstrap it in the Valley. If you can raise venture here, you can raise venture in the Valley. I think for a class of companies, probably you can raise venture in the Valley, and you can't raise it here. But for the best companies, for sure, you can raise money here. I talked earlier about the stats. And so if you've got a good proposition and you're getting some good traction, then absolutely you can raise venture capital here. And your decision about whether you bootstrap or not, I think, depends on the type of business that you've got. Venture capital is for a small subset of businesses where raising 10, 20, 30, 40 million helps you accelerate, and that can make a meaningful difference to your exit value. And not every company by any means falls into that grouping. And if you don't, then venture capital is not the right thing. Right? And you just need to be honest with yourselves.
Got a question here.
This one?
That's it.
My company is Jimbo, and I've just got a question, particularly to address your point earlier about money flowing to businesses that can articulate monetization. And I'm just curious, how do you value a business, the forward potential of a business that has more users than revenue?
One point of clarification, because I think something Michael said that made me think about that. Monetizing doesn't mean you have to immediately show money on your P&L. You just need to be able to explain to your investors how there's value in your product, who your consumers are going to be, what the distribution channels are, what exists in those distribution channels today, and how are you going to sort of get into them. And people recognize that that's going to change over time, invariably, as you grow from a small company to a bigger company. But if you can evidence that you can explain that, and that you've sort of been diligent about kind of researching how that's going to work vis-a-vis your positioning on your product or service today, that's going to go a long way with investors. So I don't know if I answered your question there, but that would be the way that I would think about explaining the monetization as you go out and raise money.